Okay, today we're going to go ahead and go a little bit farther into the zero product property, which we started talking about on Friday, okay? So what I'm looking at is lesson 8.5. We're going to be using the distributive property to factor for polynomials. Basically, we're just going to be pulling out the GCF. And we've already kind of talked about this before when we did our factoring section of this chapter, okay? So now what we're going to do is we are going to be solving equations, okay? Zero product property says we've got to equal it to 0, all right? All right, so I'm not going to give you the book definition in this case. I'm actually just going to write out kind of our own definition here. So the zero product property is when I'm going to set factors equal to 0. Okay, important thing is I need to factor first, and then I'm going to be setting things equal to 0 and solving. Okay? All right, so let's look at example 1 here. Now, anytime I have parentheses, the wonderful thing about this is it's already factored. There's no there's no factoring to be done here. So when you have a set of parentheses, it's already factored. Just take each factor, like we did on Friday, and set it equal to 0. So I'm setting each one equal to 0. Now I'm going to solve. So I'm going to divide by 3. So n equals 0. And over here I'm going to subtract the 2 off. So I get n equals -2. So I have two answers here. I have 0 and -2. Okay? Alright, so let's go to number 2. Now number 2 is the same setup. It's already factored for us, so it's just a matter of us setting each part equal to 0 and solving the equation. So 2d plus 6 equals 0. 3d minus 15 equals 0. I'm going to subtract the 6 and divide by 2. So d will equal -3. Alright, I'm going to go over the other equation now. I'm going to add the 15 and divide by 3. So d will equal 5. So my two answers for this particular problem is d minus 3 and d equals -3 and d equals 5. Alright, so now we need to look at what happens when they did not factor it for us. So it's still equal to 0, so that's the zero product property, but I do have to factor. So just like in our Nolan Ryan project on Friday, we're going to pull a GCF first. So in this case, I can pull an 8b, and I will have b minus 5 left over. Okay, pull that GCF. So I've got 8b equals 0, and b minus 5 equals 0. So I divide by 8, so b is going to equal 0. I'm going to add the 5, and b equals 5. And those are my two answers. Now, kind of just a little tidbit here. If you see here, there's a squared, and then notice that we have two answers. So this exponent will actually tells number of solutions. Okay, so if I had a cube there, I'd have 3 solutions. If I had like b to the 5th, I'd have 5 solutions. So that's where those two answers are coming from that we're getting right here and right here. Okay? Alright, so let's go to number 4. Now on this one, I got a problem. It is not set equal to 0. Okay? They must, little star here, must set equal to 0. Very important. This is a must. Okay? So I'm going to add the 10x over to the other side. So I get x squared plus 10x equals 0. Now again, I'm pulling out a GCF. In this case, I'm going to pull out an x, and I'm going to have x plus 10 equals 0. So now take both your factors, the x equals 0 and the x plus 10 equal to 0, and solve. Well, x equals 0 is done, so that's kind of nice. On the next one, I'm going to subtract the 10 over, and x equals -10. Again, exponent of 2, 2 solutions. Alright? Alright, and the last one, I told you we were going to start kind of looking at word problems a little bit so that you have a better idea of how this fits into the real world. Okay? So the hop of a kangaroo can be modeled by h equals -24t minus 16t squared, where h represents the height of the hop in meters, and t is time in seconds. Find the value of t when the height is 0. Okay, so they're telling you your height is 0. Oops, get that pin on there. Height is 0, so I'm going to take that and I'm going to plug it in for the h right there. Okay, again, 0 product property. So 0 equals 24t minus 16t squared. Okay, so I'm finding t. I have to find my time. So now I'm going to pull out a GCF, and in this case, an 8 and a t will come out. And I'll have 3 minus 2t left. Okay, so 0 equals 8t, and 0 equals negative, oh, no, not negative, let me change that, sorry. 0 equals 3 minus 2t, okay? So again, divide by 8, so t equals 0. I'm going to subtract the 3 over, so I have negative 3 minus 2t, and then I'm going to divide by negative 2. So right now I have 3 halves equals t. Now I would actually call this 1.5 equals t for a real world problem. So, because that's how we talk, we say like 1.5 seconds, okay? So the height of this kangaroo, okay, so if I'm looking at a quick little sketch of this. So the kangaroo starts, he jumps up and lands, okay? So it makes sense that 0 seconds he's at 0 height. Then what this is saying is at 1.5 seconds, he then hits the ground again. So he's in the air for a minute or 1.5 seconds. Now, since it's a real world problem, we do write a sentence, okay? So the kangaroo was at a height of 0 feet, no, 0 meters at 0 seconds and 1.5 seconds. Okay, so that's going to be your final answer. All right, and that concludes the zero product property for lesson 8.5.